Hey guys, this is Jack Lisa with MajorLeagueTrading.com coming at you with a weekend trade plan. Let's first get started here with the biggest news events that we have for the upcoming week. On Sunday, Monday, really the biggest thing we're going to have is the monetary policy meeting minutes out of the Australian dollar. That'll come out at 9:30 p.m. And then on Tuesday, not too much going on, but really the big news event I want to watch for this week, Thursday, is going to be the Bank of Japan Outlook report, their policy rate statement. They're going to have a press conference at 2:30 a.m., which all is going to be big news. And then you're going to have an ECB press conference at 8:30 a.m. East Coast time for the euro dollar. So that's going to be our big news events for the week. I do want to get started taking a look at the S&P 500 and the Dow. This is the US 500 in Nadex, which is on the S&P futures market, and we had a breakout continuation in the S&P into a new all-time high. And anytime the market breaks out, what I like to do is anticipate a continuation of the breakout. Let's first start by looking at the daily chart here in the S&P 500, and my targets actually on this breakout are going to be up at 2475 area. So until we get that, I fully expect us to hold these previous highs we've broken out of. That is a 2451, which is definitely a level you're going to want to pay attention to this week if it trades. But the first thing I like to look for is a continuation trade. And actually, I don't know why all my drawings just deleted, which is a bummer, but what I want to look for actually is because I'm looking for a continuation trade here, I'm going to be looking at this area as support. And this is kind of right where the market has broken out here, and that is going to be a 2454 half to 2452 half. This is the level I'm going to be looking Monday and Tuesday at a support level. If we ended up trading those levels and trading higher going forward into the week, the highs before we break out, 2450, 2451, those are going to be what we really want to pay attention to. Early on Friday, we had this tight consolidation, and as soon as we got above it, it was just a short cover rally that continued into the new highs. The reason we were getting sold into right here is if you go out of the daily chart, one thing you'll notice, what is the previous all-time high? It was right below that level. It was at 2451 half, and as we traded up into that, that level was getting sold into in a front run of about 1.5 points. And then as soon as we got above that tight flag, that bull flag in the morning, we ripped up. So I'm going to be looking for retests of this level as a potential support level this week in the S&P 500. Moving on to the Dow, similar trading setup. What I'm looking at is the previous highs we've broken out of potentially coming in and acting as support. That's going to be from like a 21,535 to 21,500 level. So that's why I'll be potentially looking at long trade setups as we pull back into this week. Anytime the market breaks out higher, you get the initial reaction move that pushes the market higher, then people chase. We get into a situation where there's not enough buyers to continue the move, and then we'll get that pullback. So that pullback, I'm looking for it to happen Monday, Tuesday, and into these levels. This is where I'm setting alerts, and I'm actually going to go in here right now and set an alert at or below 21,536, because my actual level that I want to start looking at potential longs is 21,535. So I always like to set my alerts 1 or 2 points ahead of that, so when those alerts trade, I'm able to actually see my levels go off. The next thing I want to pay attention to here is the USD CAD, which has had continued weakness in the USD CAD. And the level of resistance I want to pay attention to is just where we had broken down from on Friday. If you look at this level of consolidation, anytime you get a big break in the market like you see right here, that level of consolidation, let me just pull up a couple lines here, but these levels of consolidation, when we retest those levels, this is where sellers had come in. This is where the market had failed from. So if we can get back up to that level, and I'm going to go here and set the alert at or above 12721, and if we can get back above that, that is where I'm going to be looking for potential resistance in the USD CAD. But just to back it out to a higher time frame, we've broken down out of a major wedge. Okay, this is a channel wedge, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be looking to targets on a higher time frame. I have targets all the way down here at 119. So I think this has plenty of room to run. And if you like trading a market from the short side, some people who like to have biases, some people are much better at taking long-sided trades, some people are much better at taking short-sided trades. If you're one of those traders that likes taking a short-sided trade, I do think the USD CAD is one of the best markets to pay attention to. Just look at this weekly chart. Initially in 2016, there was a massive slide, but now we've continued after channeling for almost an entire year, really breaking down, and I expect to see more weakness, and I do not think this move is over. So I'm going to be looking for pops to potentially sell into, and my resistance level going into this week is just a retest of where we broke down from 127.22 to 127.43. I'm going to move this alert down actually, and be aware of both of those moves. The next market I want to pay attention to is the USD JPY. If you remember, I talked about at the beginning of this video, USD JPY has a lot of news events coming out this week. It's going to have policy rate statements, which is equivalent to the FOMC. Janet Yellen talking, about the United States and the Fed. That is their equivalent. So that's what they're going to have coming up this week, which will definitely be moving this USD JPY. I really want to pay attention to these lows we put in on Friday. I think if they come down for a retest, I'll be looking for a double bottom type pattern, and to trade that as a potential support level. On the higher time frame, on the daily here and on the weekly, let me zoom out. I do think that if we can take out these highs at 114, that we get a bigger move, potentially all the way up into the 117 to 118 level, which takes us back to the highs at the beginning of 2017. But that's going to conclude this week's trade plan. I'll review these trades on Wednesday. We'll see what worked, what didn't, and talk about more potential trade setups. If you like this video or just want to see more of this stuff, make sure to like and subscribe to the Nadex YouTube channel, and feel free to check me out over at MajorLeagueTrading.com and our YouTube channel as well, Major League Trading. Thank you for your time here today, guys. Trade safe, and I will see you guys in the next video on Wednesday. Take care.